how's it going? And welcome to The Guitar Effect. My name's Rob. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Keeley Supermod Workstation multi-effects unit. But before we do, I'll ask you to please like and subscribe so you can be kept up to date with everything we're doing, and hit the notifications bell so you'll get notified when a new video goes live. So, the Keeley Supermod Workstation. This is it. Ta-da! It is a really quite amazingly small pedal. Now, that comes with its pluses and minuses, which I'll go into in a minute. But in effect, what this is a multi-effects pedal. But it's kind of like, it's not analog, but it's a very analog feeling multi-effects pedal. So, what you have is you have two switches, mod 1 and mod 2. Actually, in this case, it's mod 2 and mod 1. I don't really understand the principle of that, but anyway, and a tap tempo switch, okay? And you've then two rows of knobs, one for mod 2 and one for mod 1, and then there's a kind of clicker select knob on the beginning of each row of knobs for each section that allows you to select between multiple modulation, delay, and reverb effects. So what that effectively means is you can select one effect on each bank and bring them in and out individually with these two foot switches, or obviously you can hit both of them together, which I think might be an intentional part of the design, is hitting both of them together would allow you to bring two effects in once, and that's why the foot switches are so close together. And then obviously there's a tap tempo, which is only assigned to mod select 1, so the bottom one. I have the instruction manual on the screen here beside me, so that's what I'm looking at if I look off camera. So this tap function will control the speed or rate of any of the effects you select on mod 1. Sorry, it's really confusing because it goes 2-1 instead of 1-2. And then at the back, you have your input, you have an expression pedal input, you have a tap tempo input, you have what's called a stereo output, but it's actually just dual mono, or a dry output. And then you have a mono output, which is the main output, right? And then you have a 9-volt power jack. So what's interesting about the back is the expression pedal only controls the top row of effects, so mod 2. So what you could do is plug an expression pedal in, control the mod 1 effects with the tap tempo, and control mod 2 effects with the expression pedal. Unfortunately, the expression pedal that I have is a line 6 expression pedal and doesn't speak to this. I think it's because my line 6 expression pedal takes a mono jack and this needs a stereo jack, so it's like a traditional expression pedal. So, what's this useful for? It's a brilliant multi-effects unit for someone who doesn't want to get into menus and endless tweaking and endless presets. If you want two effects, say you play in a function band and you want a chorus and a tremolo, for example, like on the board that I have, that I did a video on a couple of weeks ago that this was part of, I would just leave it on rotary and harmonic tremolo all the time on that board if I was gigging with it, and just stepping in for those two effects. And for, I think, a harmonic tremolo pedal and a rotary pedal that will be as good as these two sounds are, and the sounds in this I think are absolutely exceptionally good. I think the price of buying those two pedals will be comparable to this, and then you get all those extra effects built in, and also it's Keeley, so the build quality and sound quality is second to none. So I think, yeah, in that situation, if you're playing in a function band or something and you want just two modulation effects to jump on for a bit of flavour, or else maybe for specific bits and songs, like I think every cover band in the world plays Creep by Radiohead, so you'll need a tremolo for that. This is in here. And maybe you might want a phaser or a chorus for Purple Rain or something like that. There's even a detune function, like, which I think is what is using Purple Rain. So for 2 effects at a time and tap tempo on one of them without an expression pedal, it's brilliant. The other thing that I really, and where I think this really comes into its own, is having all these effects. So, and some of the effects are doubled, by the way, so they're in both banks, and that's so you can use combinations of different effects, which becomes a bit more evident when I go into explaining the sounds. And all these sounds are available, like what sounds are available. I go through them all, and also they're available on the manual, which you can get online. So yeah, I think in a studio situation, if I was recording something and I wanted to bring like a Swiss Army knife pedal with me, this is just excellent. Like, it's probably as good as the Line 6 M5 minus the octave and filter and many verb effects. But if you wanted to bring something in for like basic delays, basic reverbs, and then quite comprehensive modulation effects that are all available without any menus or you know, presets or any sort of in-depth tweaking, they're just there at your fingertips. You're doing a song, you need a tremolo, you need a reverb, you just turn some knobs and you get really good quality effects. I think in that way, if you're using it in a sort of, you know, song by song recording basis where you don't need to have recallable presets, it's brilliant. It's brilliant for that. In fact, that's where I think it really shines. I think if you're playing in an originals band where you have song by song sound setup, which I do for my originals band, this wouldn't work because I need more effects available without interacting with it manually. So I'd need presets and I'd need MIDI recallability, which it doesn't have. And in that way, it's not as good as, say, the Line 6 M5 or an Eventide H9 if you want to spend megabucks on it. It's not as good as that because it doesn't have the flexibility for MIDI presets or more than one effect or 2 effects per time and stuff. It's good at 2 effects per time, and they're very, very high quality effects and lots of different types of effects. And it's good for having those 2 effects on your pedal board and being able to recall them whenever you want in a live scenario. And then in a studio scenario where you're recording song by song and maybe experimenting with sounds or whatever, it's fantastic for that because it's way quicker than any of those other boxes. It's just down, turn knobs, get the sound you want, off you go. And in that way, I think it's really, really brilliant. So yes, just the last thing to speak about is the stereo output. Now, I haven't tried this, but mono and stereo usually means if you're using, say, a tremolo or a pan effect, that it'll switch between both speakers, or maybe you might have a dual delay that will go between both speakers, or a chorus will just naturally seem wider. It doesn't do that. It's a dual mono output in effect, which means that both signals that are coming out are exactly the same, except you can flip a trip switch inside that will kill the affected signal coming out of the stereo output, which is actually really useful. So what that's great for is I put it on the board and I run the dry signal out, and I can send with modulation to 1 amp. And for example, I could turn on the vibrato and only send it to 1 amp and then actually generate natural chorus. Because what chorus is a vibrato signal blended with a clean signal. So I could have vibrato in 1 amp and clean in the other. And I could put pedals after it and have delay and reverb and modulation in 1 amp and none of those things in the other. So in that way, it's a really handy box to have if you want to run a sort of a wet-dry sort of setup. So yeah, I think that explains all the functionality. I think it's €350 new on Thomann. It's a lot for any pedal, but it's probably pretty good value, I think, to get Keeley's build quality and Keeley's level of fidelity in the effects. At 350, I bought it secondhand for 150, which was an absolute steal, and I've been super impressed with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through every single sound really quickly. I'm not going to twiddle any of the knobs or anything like that. I'm just going to go, here's this sound, here's this sound, here's this sound, and then I'm going to show you 3 of my favorite combinations of effects. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. I think it's a great pedal. It's a lot of money, but I think you'll get your value for money out of it. So the first effect I'm going to do is Mod 2, which is harmonic tremolo. So here we go. So you can hear it's a tremolo that has sort of a vibey kind of effect to it. Okay, and that's mod 2, position 1, which is harmonic tremolo. Position 2 is the phaser. I let my phaser slow. Phaser sounds nice. Position 3 is chorus or vibrato. Nice chorus. Position 4 is the flanger. Okay, so position 5 is a rotary effect. So here it is on the slow. And if I dial up the speed, it's an extremely good rotary sound, I think. Nice. Okay, position 6 is the digital delay. So this center knob controls the feedback. This fourth knob controls the time. It's pretty good digital delay actually. Really pristine repeats. Works nice for ambience, but also for, as I just showed there, dotted eighths. Okay, and then the next one, number 7, is a hall reverb. Pretty nice usable hall reverb. And lastly on this is the plate reverb, which I think is a bit brighter if I remember correctly. Yeah, significantly brighter reverb, so that makes sense. Plates are generally brighter than halls. Okay, so that's mod 2. Moving on to mod 1, I'll turn off mod 2. First on mod 1 is just a regular tremolo. Pretty nice tremolo. Mod 2 is, okay, the repeated harmonic tremolo. Okay, so if I then move on to mod 3, it's a filter. It's hard to understand for me whether this is envelope related or just time related. don't think it's envelope related. No, I think it's just time related, so I don't think it's down to sensitivity on how hard you play the guitar. Limited usability for the type of music I play. 4 is another version of the phaser, so. Yeah, nice phaser. Number 5 is the ADT, which blends in delayed and detuned voices. You can hear the detune happening there. I think that could be really useful actually for atmospheric parts. Number 6 is the rotary, so again it's repeated from the last one. Pretty good rotary sound. Number 8 is again the digital delay. And then lastly is the analog delay, which should be a darker repeat. Really great pedal. So what I'm going to do now is go through my favorite settings. 2 or 3 different either combinations of sounds or just individual sounds. So the first one is I really love the hall reverb on mod 2 and the harmonic tremolo on mod 1. Incidentally, this is if I'm using it in isolation. If it was on my board, I wouldn't use the reverbs or delays because I have a reverb and delay pedal and I just have 2 mods set up all the time, so I could just go for them as I wanted them. But in individual usage and in kind of using combinations of effects, the harmonic trem and the hall reverb work really well together. Incidentally, using it in my board, I demoed in the video of when I did my recent video on my newest board, so you can see that up here. But in the meantime, here is the hall reverb and the hall reverb and the harmonic tremolo. So starting off with just my clean sound. Okay, so here's the reverb. Now, this is in the top row here, and you can see I have the volume of this at unity. So if I turn off the pedal, and I turn on the reverb, it actually boosts it a little bit. A little bit of pre-delay, swells in a little bit afterwards, and you can hear it's just a gorgeous, big, luscious reverb, but it doesn't get in the way at all. Then if I add the harmonic tremolo to that, So I know harmonic tremolo is an extremely en vogue effect, which automatically makes me hate it. It's like, that's what people say, it's halfway between a tremolo and a vibe. It's just really, really cool. And I think the particular harmonic trem on this pedal is really, really brilliant. So the different controls then. This morph control at the end here, according to the instruction manual at any rate, is the presence or tone of the tremolo. So if I wind it right back off, there's no kind of sparkle to it, and if I wind it right on, yeah, it kind of adds presence. I like it just a little past noon. It's a gorgeous sounding effect. Then the depth is obviously the harshness of the tremolo. It's actually the wave shape in this. So yeah, basically it's like square or soft or hard. The rate is obviously the rate. And also I can control that with the tap, so I can go slow. Or I can go fast. Let's turn the depth up slightly. Tap is kind of a little bit right. I prefer just to use a rate. So that's the harmonic tremolo and the reverb. Definitely one of my favorite presets in this pedal. Okay, so the second combination that I like, and it's predominantly actually not a combination, it's just in Mod Select 1, the analog delay, and it sounds like this. It's just a really, really lovely delay. Then I can bring up the mix with this last morph knob. Okay, so just to go through the controls a little bit. So the level simply controls the level of the output of the pedal, as it does in every preset. In this case, the rate actually controls the feedback, so the amount of repeats. So I let my repeats back a little bit. The depth is the speed. You can get it back for a slapback. Right, again, or you can control that with a tap. So useful. And then the morph knob here controls the amount of delay in the mix. So if I wind it back here, it's very little. And if I wind it on, lots. There's an interesting thing. It says on the instruction manual that the modulation is dynamically controlled. So I don't know. There's maybe a tiny bit of modulation. can't necessarily hear a lot. Yes, that's the analog delay. Then I like combining that with the phaser in Mod Select 2, but obviously not that kind of rate. So if I bring this back, okay, so the last setting I want to demonstrate is I really love the rotary. I'm playing it with the plate reverb simply to show off the plate reverb. I don't necessarily think these two go brilliantly together because the plate's quite bright. But I've switched over to the dirty channel of my amp, so I'm turning them both off. And I'm purely doing this in a, I'm putting the pedal in front, which I think with rotary you could do, and I have my gain backed off quite a lot. So here is a rotary effect on Mod 1, which is this bottom line here. Oh, it's a great rotary, look. So the rate obviously controls the rate. I'm going to drive it a little bit harder. And the depth controls the amount or the severity of the rotary. So you can really hear the movement there, whereas I backed it off a little bit, it gets a lot more subtle. So then if I add the reverb, go on to the neck pickup, wind the volume back a little bit. Or something like that. Anyway, it's just a really lovely rotary. Now that reverb I have on a bit severely, so I'm going to bring the rate back a little bit. I'm going to turn off the modulation for a second. Bit longer time. Let's morph. I mean, again, it's a big pronounced reverb, and to be fair, I have it running into the dirty channel of the amp, which I would never do. But I'll switch back to the clean actually for a sec. Let's give it a bit more. Add in the rotary. So yeah, the plate reverb and the rotary, they are some of my favourite settings on this pedal. So, there you have it. The Keeley Supermod Workstation. I think this is a brilliant tool for a studio board. Or, as I said at the beginning, if you have two modulation or delay or reverb effects that you want to have foot switchable on your board that are of high quality, and have them on for your whole gig and just switch down and turn them on and off. Brilliant. I think at €350, as I mentioned as well, it's probably the price of two very high quality effects that are in this pedal, or reasonably high quality effects anyway. And all the effects are, in my opinion, of very high quality. It's got a really small footprint. It doesn't take up a massive amount of space in your board. I do think that the switches are quite close together as a result, which in one way possibly makes them hard to switch, but in another means you can turn both on at one time easily. The tap tempo on one control or on one mod and the expression pedal on the other mod is really cool, clever way of doing things, and then you have the dry output, which I think is really useful too. So if you're looking for a Swift Army knife pedal that's a bit different than the ones most people consider to put on your board, I think this is a really good option. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching this far if you have done. And yeah, I will hopefully see you again soon in another video. Cheers, bye bye.